Hello, and welcome to another gentle journey on Sleepy Professor Stories. Tonight, your attention is invited to drift toward the Milky Way, the galaxy that quietly holds our place in the universe. This vast system of stars, dust, and slow movement is not something you need to study or remember. It is simply something to rest with. The Milky Way has been turning calmly for a very long time, and it will continue to do so whether we watch it closely or let our thoughts wander. You can imagine it as a wide, steady presence, ancient and patient, carrying countless stars in gentle motion, never rushing, never asking for anything in return. As you listen, there is no pressure to follow every idea or hold onto details. This is not a lesson to memorize. It is a soft exploration, meant to accompany you as attention drifts and the day loosens its hold. You may notice images forming briefly, then fading again, like distant lights seen through half-closed eyes. That is perfectly fine. If this calm journey feels comforting, you might choose to like or subscribe, simply as a way of helping others discover peaceful science when they need rest. And if that feels like too much, there is no obligation at all. Nothing is required of you here. Now, you are free to let your breathing settle into its own natural rhythm. Shoulders can relax. The jaw can soften. There is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to understand fully, and nowhere you need to go. Sleep is welcome at any moment. You can listen or you can drift away, knowing that both are equally okay. Let's begin. You begin not with a place, but with a feeling of widening. Attention gently expands outward, as if the edges of thought are slowly dissolving. In this wide calm, the Milky Way does not appear as a sharp object or a defined shape. It arrives as a soft spiral of light, faint and steady, turning without effort. You are not looking at it from outside. You are already within it. Stars surround you in every direction, resting at different distances, each one moving calmly along its path. There is no rush here, no sense of beginning or end. The galaxy simply exists, holding everything quietly in place. As your breathing slows, the scale continues to stretch. Distances become large enough that urgency fades naturally. The Milky Way turns so slowly that motion feels like stillness. Even change happens gently, without asking for attention. This spiral of light is made of countless stars, but you do not need to imagine them individually. Together, they form a soft glow, like mist illuminated from within. Darker spaces weave between brighter regions, creating balance rather than emptiness. You may notice how comforting this feels. The galaxy does not press inward. It opens outward, creating room for thought to loosen and drift. Nothing here needs to be followed closely. Everything unfolds at a pace that welcomes rest. The Milky Way carries clouds of dust and gas as well, though they are not heavy or chaotic. They move slowly, gathering and dispersing over long periods. These materials drift through the spiral arms, participating quietly in the galaxy's rhythm. You are allowed to imagine these arms as gentle curves, not rigid structures. They do not hold stars tightly. They guide them softly, like slow currents guiding leaves across still water. As awareness settles, the idea of rotation becomes less mechanical and more natural. The galaxy turns the way, night turns into morning, without effort or intention. No signal marks the movement. It simply continues. This motion has been happening for a very long time, long enough that the idea of counting loses meaning. The galaxy does not measure itself in moments. It measures itself in continuity. You might sense how safe this feels. Being inside something so steady allows the body to release tension. Shoulders soften. The jaw relaxes. Breathing finds its own depth. Stars within the Milky Way follow paths shaped by balance rather than force. Each one responds gently to the collective presence of the others. Nothing collides sharply. Everything adjusts. You do not need to picture exact orbits. The feeling of order without rigidity is enough. The galaxy holds itself together through quiet agreement, not control. As thoughts slow, you may notice how darkness here does not feel empty. It feels like space to rest. Between stars, there is room for calm to settle. The Milky Way does not shine brightly in all places. Its light is uneven, soft in some regions, stronger in others. This variation creates texture, not noise. You might imagine lying beneath a night sky where the galaxy appears as a faint band of light. Even then, what you see is only a small part of its presence. Most of it remains unseen, not hidden, simply unnecessary to observe. This idea can feel reassuring. You are not required to see everything for it to exist. The galaxy continues whether noticed or not. As attention drifts further, the sense of direction fades. Up and down lose importance. There is only surrounding presence, gentle and continuous. The spiral shape itself feels calming. Curves invite relaxation. They guide the eye and mind without abrupt stops. Nothing here has sharp edges. The Milky Way's light comes from many sources, yet it blends into a single, quiet glow. Individual brightness dissolves into collective calm. You may notice how this mirrors rest itself. Many thoughts soften into one background hum. Nothing stands out enough to demand attention. The galaxy holds systems within systems, layers within layers, yet it does not feel complicated. Complexity here feels organized, almost soothing. As breathing deepens, the idea of being held within something vast becomes comforting rather than overwhelming. The Milky Way does not crowd you. It creates space. Stars continue their slow movement, guided gently by gravity that feels less like pulling and more like belonging. Everything stays where it makes sense to stay. You do not have to understand how this balance works. The body responds to the feeling of stability naturally. The spiral arms are regions where light gathers slightly more densely, but even there, nothing feels crowded. Stars remain separated by wide distances, allowing quiet between them. This quiet is not absence. It is pause. It allows motion to remain smooth and unhurried. As awareness softens, time itself begins to blur. Past and future lose distinction. The galaxy exists fully in a continuous present. You may sense how little the Milky Way asks of you. It does not require observation, admiration, or comprehension. It simply exists. This lack of demand allows the mind to rest deeply. There is nothing to perform here, nothing to achieve. The spiral of light continues turning, slowly enough that you could imagine it standing still. Change happens beneath perception. You are free to let attention wander now. Thoughts may come and go without importance. The galaxy remains steady regardless. Even silence feels full in this space. The absence of sound does not feel empty. It feels supportive. As night deepens, the sense of being surrounded by gentle motion becomes almost cradle-like. The Milky Way carries everything without effort. You may notice your breathing aligning with this rhythm, lengthening naturally, pausing softly between breaths. The galaxy does not hurry toward anything. It does not seek an end. It continues because continuation is its nature. This understanding can feel deeply relaxing. There is no final moment approaching. Everything unfolds gradually. Stars are born and fade within this spiral, yet the overall form remains calm and consistent. Change does not disrupt the whole. You do not need to hold on to this idea. It is enough to feel it. As awareness drifts, the Milky Way becomes less an image and more a sensation of openness and balance. Light softens, thought slows, the need to focus dissolves. You are allowed to rest fully within this quiet spiral, letting attention float freely. Nothing demands clarity, nothing asks for effort. The galaxy remains, turning gently, holding space for rest. And as this quiet spiral continues its calm motion around you, your attention drifts naturally toward the soft center of the galaxy, where stillness feels even deeper and more welcoming. You rest within Milky Way, a calm family of stars. You remain surrounded by light, dust, and patient cosmic motion. You are not outside observing, but already gently included inside. You drift among stars that belong together through quiet gravity. You sense connection rather than structure, relationship rather than definition. You notice the galaxy feels more like home than object. You feel how stars gather naturally, never forced, never crowded. You imagine vast distances allowing calm space between every shining presence. You sense order emerging gently, without instruction or rigid design. You allow the idea of belonging to settle without effort. You feel gas drifting softly, forming invisible bridges between stars. You imagine clouds of matter moving slowly, guided by balance. You sense dust, not as dirt, but as gentle cosmic material. You understand this material helps stars form without urgency. You rest with the idea of slow creation unfolding continuously. You recognize the Milky Way holds many kinds of stars. You sense young stars glowing softly, older stars resting steadily. You feel no competition here, only shared existence. You allow differences to coexist calmly within one system. You notice variety does not disrupt the galaxy's peaceful rhythm. You imagine gravity not as force, but as quiet agreement. You sense stars remaining where balance feels most natural. You feel motion guided by belonging rather than control. You rest with the sense of gentle organization everywhere. You notice how stability emerges from shared influence. You recognize the Milky Way contains immense empty spaces. You feel these spaces as breathing room, not absence. You sense silence between stars supporting calm motion. You allow emptiness to feel comforting and full. You notice space itself contributes to balance. You imagine light traveling calmly through the galaxy. You sense it moving patiently, never hurried. You feel how light connects distant regions quietly. You rest with illumination arriving gently wherever it reaches. You notice nothing demands brightness all at once. You understand the Milky Way evolves without sudden change. You sense gradual shifts unfolding across immense spans. You feel comfort knowing change happens slowly here. You allow time to stretch without pressure. You notice urgency dissolving naturally. You imagine stars forming from drifting material patiently. You sense gravity gathering matter without command. You feel creation occurring through repetition and time. You rest, knowing beginnings are never rushed. You allow curiosity to soften into calm presence. You recognize some stars eventually fade gently. You sense endings happening without disruption. You feel continuity remaining despite individual changes. You rest, knowing the system remains stable. You allow impermanence to feel peaceful. You imagine the Milky Way as layered presence. You sense regions differing softly in brightness and density. You feel texture rather than complexity. You rest with variety blending into harmony. You notice nothing feels chaotic. You sense the galaxy turning slowly as one. You feel rotation so gradual it feels still. You allow motion to become background calm. You notice stillness and movement coexist comfortably. You remain relaxed within this rhythm. You recognize dust helps regulate light and temperature. You sense balance emerging from simple interactions. You feel processes cooperating rather than competing. You rest with natural coordination everywhere. You allow understanding to arrive softly. You imagine looking outward from within the galaxy. You sense no clear edge, only continuation. You feel inclusion rather than separation. You rest knowing there is no outside. You allow boundaries to fade gently. You feel the Milky Way holding countless planetary systems. You sense many worlds existing quietly. You feel comfort in shared cosmic belonging. You rest, knowing life possibilities remain calm ideas. You allow wonder without excitement. You notice how scale removes personal urgency. You feel small concerns loosening their grip. You rest within something vast and steady. You allow perspective to bring ease. You notice tension releasing naturally. You imagine the galaxy existing long before awareness. You sense it continuing long after attention fades. You feel reassurance in this continuity. You rest, knowing nothing depends on observation. You allow responsibility to dissolve. You feel the Milky Way requires no effort. You sense it maintaining itself quietly. You rest with systems functioning naturally. You notice no instruction is needed. You allow trust to deepen. You imagine stars communicating through gravity alone. You sense silent interaction shaping motion. You feel cooperation without language. You rest within this quiet dialogue. You allow silence to feel meaningful. You recognize the galaxy contains regions of calm darkness. You sense darkness as shelter, not void. You feel rest existing within shadowed space. You allow darkness to feel supportive. You notice balance between light and dark. You imagine the Milky Way breathing slowly. You sense expansion and contraction over time. You feel rhythms too slow to notice. You rest within these gentle cycles. You allow breath to deepen naturally. You feel the galaxy does not demand attention. You sense it existing regardless of focus. You rest without needing to engage. You allow listening to become optional. You notice ease replacing effort. You recognize patterns repeating calmly throughout the galaxy. You sense order arising from simple rules. You feel predictability offering comfort. You rest with reliability everywhere. You allow calm trust to grow. You imagine stars following curved paths gracefully. You sense arcs rather than straight lines. You feel curves guiding movement gently. You rest with flowing geometry. You allow form to soothe attention. You notice how distance prevents conflict. You sense separation, allowing stability. You feel safety in wide spacing. You rest, knowing collisions are rare. You allow anxiety to soften. You recognize the Milky Way as natural system. You sense no design beyond physical law. You feel simplicity underlying complexity. You rest with elegance of nature. You allow appreciation without analysis. You imagine drifting attention among star fields. You sense no need to choose direction. You feel freedom in aimless presence. You rest without destination. You allow wandering awareness. You feel how the galaxy supports calm thinking. You sense thoughts slowing alongside cosmic motion. You feel mind aligning with vast rhythm. You rest within shared stillness. You allow sleepiness to grow gently. You recognize the Milky Way as shared environment. You sense belonging without ownership. You feel part of something enduring. You rest within cosmic companionship. You allow loneliness to fade. You imagine time measured differently here. You sense years stretching into softness. You feel clocks losing relevance. You rest beyond schedules. You allow time to blur. You feel the galaxy's presence becoming background comfort. You sense familiarity replacing curiosity. You feel safe within repetition. You rest as attention loosens. You allow understanding to fade gently. You notice awareness growing quieter. You sense thoughts thinning out. You feel space opening inside mind. You rest within calm spaciousness. You allow silence to deepen. You recognize the Milky Way does not conclude. You sense continuation without endpoint. You feel reassurance in ongoing existence. You rest, knowing nothing finishes abruptly. You allow closure to soften. You imagine settling deeper into this cosmic family. You sense inclusion becoming effortless. You feel held without pressure. You rest within gentle belonging. You allow sleep to approach. And as this quiet family of stars continues holding you gently, your attention drifts inward toward deeper stillness waiting just ahead. You begin to sense motion without movement, a turning so slow it almost disappears into stillness. The Milky Way does not spin the way familiar objects spin. It turns patiently, quietly, like something seen through deep water where change is softened and time stretches wide. If you imagine the galaxy as a broad spiral, its arms gently curved, never sharp, never rigid. These arms are not solid structures. They are regions where stars happen to gather a little more closely, guided by balance rather than force. Nothing here is locked into place. Everything flows. As your breathing settles, the idea of rotation becomes comforting. The galaxy turns because it always has, not because it needs to arrive anywhere. Motion here is continuation, not progress. The spiral shape feels natural to the mind. Curves invite relaxation. They guide attention without demanding it. The Milky Way's form allows thought to drift along its arms, moving gently from one region to another without urgency. You are not watching this from above or outside. You are inside the turning, carried along with it. The stars around you move together, are sharing the same slow rhythm, each following a path shaped by the presence of all the others. This rotation happens over spans of time so long they lose sharpness. One full turn takes far longer than any single life or many lives together. Because of this, motion feels like rest. You may notice how this eases the body. When movement is slow enough, it stops feeling like motion at all. Muscles release, breathing deepens, the need to track change fades. The spiral arms are not crowded. Even where stars gather more densely, there is wide space between them. Distance is part of the design, allowing calm rather than collision. As awareness drifts, you may imagine these arms as gentle currents. Stars drift within them the way leaves drift in a slow river, guided but not pushed. The galaxy's rotation is guided by gravity, yet gravity here feels less like pulling and more like belonging. Stars remain in motion because motion keeps balance. Stillness would disrupt it. You do not need to understand how this balance is calculated. The feeling of order without effort is enough. The galaxy does not struggle to remain whole. Light moves with the turning as well, traveling calmly across space. Some light began its journey long ago, arriving now without announcing its age. It blends seamlessly into the present moment. The spiral shape allows new stars to form gently. Material drifts, gathers slightly, then disperses again. Nothing is rushed. Creation happens where conditions allow, not because of command. You may sense how this removes pressure from the idea of beginnings. Things do not start suddenly here. They emerge gradually, like dawn arriving without a clear moment of arrival. As the galaxy turns, it carries regions of brightness and shadow together. Neither dominates. Both contribute to the overall calm texture of the whole. You might imagine watching this motion from far above, seeing the spiral complete and quiet. Or you might imagine it from within, where the turning is too slow to notice. Both perspectives are gentle. The Milky Way's shape is not fixed forever. Over extremely long spans, it adjusts subtly, responding to internal motion and surrounding influences. Even so, change remains slow and balanced. This idea can feel reassuring. Even large systems do not change abruptly. Stability is maintained through gradual adjustment. As your thoughts soften, the spiral becomes less a picture and more a sensation. A sense of being carried along by something steady and reliable. You are allowed to let go of attention now. The galaxy does not require observation to continue turning. It has done so long before awareness and will do so long after. The turning of the Milky Way creates a gentle background rhythm. It is not a beat you can count. It is a presence you can feel. You may notice your own breathing aligning with this rhythm, slowing without instruction, lengthening naturally between breaths. The galaxy does not hurry its stars along their paths. Each one moves at the speed that maintains harmony. Too fast or too slow would disturb balance. This balance feels deeply restful. It suggests that there is a pace at which everything fits together comfortably. The spiral arms guide material without trapping it. Stars may drift in and out of these regions over time, never confined, never forced. You can imagine these arms as suggestions rather than rules, paths rather than barriers. As awareness drifts further, the idea of direction becomes less important. Forward and backward lose meaning when motion is continuous and circular. The Milky Way turns, but it does not repeat exactly. Each moment is slightly different, yet the overall form remains familiar. Change and consistency coexist. You may feel how calming this coexistence is. Nothing must remain identical to remain stable. The galaxy's slow rotation also helps distribute material evenly. Over time, energy and matter spread gently, preventing extremes. This distribution feels like fairness without intention. No region claims more than it can hold for long. As you rest with this thought, the mind may release its need to categorize. The spiral is neither fast nor slow. It simply is. The shape that slowly turns invites surrender. There is no need to keep track of where you are within it. You are always where you need to be. Stars within the galaxy complete their paths over long durations, returning not to the same place, but to similar relationships. The system remembers balance rather than position. You might sense how this mirrors rest itself. The body does not need to stay perfectly still to be at rest. It needs balance and ease. The turning of the Milky Way has no sound. It happens in silence so complete that it feels like deep quiet rather than absence. Silence here is not empty. It is full of motion too slow to disturb. As attention continues to soften, the spiral becomes a lullaby without melody. a pattern without repetition. You do not need to imagine exact speeds or distances. The feeling of slow turning is enough to carry you. The galaxy's shape has guided countless stars through countless ages without urgency. It will continue to do so without effort. You may feel comfort in this continuity. Nothing about the turning feels fragile. It feels reliable. As awareness drifts closer to rest, the spiral seems to widen further, opening space inside the mind. Thoughts become lighter, less defined, like reflections moving gently across water. You are free to let attention slip now. The galaxy will continue turning, steady and calm. There is nothing you need to hold on to, nothing to understand fully. The shape that slowly turns invites you to do the same, letting awareness rotate gently toward rest. You may notice a natural pause between breaths, a soft stillness where nothing happens and nothing needs to. This pause feels safe within the galaxy's rhythm. As the chapter settles, the sense of slow rotation remains as a background comfort, steady and unchanging. You are carried quietly within this turning, supported without pressure. And as this graceful turning continues without effort, your attention drifts naturally toward the calm heart of the galaxy, where motion softens even further into quiet balance. You begin to sense that the Milky Way is not a single surface, not a flat picture stretched across space, but a collection of quiet layers resting together. Each layer exists calmly within the others, creating depth without complexity, structure without strain. Nothing here feels stacked in a way that could topple. Everything feels settled. At the center of your awareness lies the disk, wide and softly curved, where most of the galaxy's stars drift in gentle paths. This disk is not thin or sharp. It has thickness, like a slow cloud, allowing room for motion without crowding. Stars move within it patiently, guided by balance rather than urgency. You imagine this disk as a calm plane of light, glowing faintly, with brighter regions appearing where stars gather slightly closer together. Even here, space remains generous. Distance is never a problem. It is part of the comfort. As your breathing slows, the disk feels less like a structure and more like a resting place. It holds motion the way water holds a current, allowing flow without resistance. Nothing presses outward. Nothing pulls inward too strongly. Within this disk, material drifts quietly. Gas and dust move slowly, gathering here and thinning there over long stretches of time. These materials are not chaotic. They follow the same gentle rhythm as the stars, responding to the shared presence of the whole. You do not need to imagine exact boundaries. The disk fades gradually, rather than ending abruptly. Light becomes softer, density thins. The galaxy transitions calmly from one layer into the next. Above and below the disk, your attention drifts into the halo. This region feels even quieter, more spacious, like a soft breath held around the galaxy. Stars here are fewer, more widely spaced, moving in paths that feel relaxed and unhurried. The halo does not surround the galaxy tightly. It rests loosely, extending far outward, creating a sense of openness rather than enclosure. Nothing presses against it. Nothing marks its edge clearly. You may notice how this layered arrangement feels soothing. The galaxy does not pile everything into one place. It spreads itself gently, allowing each region to exist without interference. The halo feels almost like a cushion of calm, supporting the disk without touching it directly. It contributes to stability, simply by being there, by extending presence rather than exerting force. As awareness drifts, you may sense that the halo holds very old stars, ones that have moved quietly for long periods without disturbance. Their paths are wide and patient, unconcerned with speed or destination. This sense of age does not feel heavy. It feels settled, like furniture that has remained in the same place for years, becoming part of the room itself. Beyond even the halo, the galaxy fades into quieter space. This transition does not feel like leaving. It feels like softening, like sound fading into silence without a clear moment of stopping. The layered nature of the Milky Way allows everything to coexist peacefully. Regions differ, but none dominate. Each layer contributes something subtle to the whole. You may imagine these layers as stacked calmness rather than stacked objects. Each one rests gently atop the others without weight or pressure. As thoughts slow, this structure begins to feel intuitive. Stability does not require rigidity. It requires balance distributed across space. The disk provides gentle motion and shared direction. The halo offers spaciousness and quiet. Together, they create harmony rather than hierarchy. You are not required to remember which stars belong where. The feeling of layered calm is enough. Understanding arrives softly, then drifts away again. Light moves through these layers patiently. It does not change character abruptly as it passes from disk to halo. It simply thins and softens, adjusting naturally. You may notice how similar this feels to drifting towards sleep. Awareness does not switch off suddenly. It layers itself, becoming quieter step by step. The Milky Way's layers allow the galaxy to remain stable over long periods. Motion is distributed. Energy spreads gently. Nothing accumulates too sharply. This distribution prevents extremes. Regions do not become overcrowded. Others do not become empty. Balance emerges quietly. As your breathing remains steady, the idea of layers within layers begins to mirror inner experience. Thoughts settle into background. Sensations soften. Awareness becomes wide and calm. The galaxy does not announce its structure loudly. It reveals it only when attention is gentle enough to notice. You may imagine floating slowly upward from the disk into the halo, noticing how light thins and space opens. There is no boundary crossed, only a gradual change in feeling. Nothing about this movement feels risky. The galaxy holds you wherever you drift, within any layer. The halo's stars move in paths that feel less aligned than those in the disk. Yet this does not create disorder. It adds softness, variety, depth. Even this variety feels calm. Nothing moves sharply. Everything responds to the same quiet presence of gravity and time. You might sense how the layered structure allows the galaxy to breathe. Expansion and motion occur without tension, spread across regions rather than concentrated. As awareness drifts further, the galaxy feels less like an object and more like an environment. Something you are inside, not something you observe. The layers do not compete for attention. The disk does not outshine the halo. The halo does not overshadow the disk. Each remains content in its role. This cooperation without intention feels deeply restful. Nothing needs to prove its importance. The Milky Way's layered form has persisted for a very long time. It has adjusted slowly, maintaining balance without dramatic change. This persistence creates trust. The galaxy does not feel fragile. It feels resilient through gentleness rather than force. You may notice how comforting it is to imagine a system that remains stable, by spreading itself out, by avoiding extremes. As your thoughts soften, the layered structure becomes less a concept and more a sensation of depth and support. The galaxy feels like a quiet room with high ceilings and open windows, where air moves slowly and nothing feels cramped. You are free to let attention settle anywhere within this space. There is no wrong place to rest. The disk continues its slow rotation. The halo remains calm and expansive. The layers coexist without friction. Time passes through all of them evenly, without favor or urgency. As the chapter continues, the sense of gentle layering becomes a background presence. You no longer need to think about it. It simply holds you. Awareness becomes lighter. Thoughts lose sharpness. The idea of structure fades into comfort. The Milky Way remains layered whether you focus on it or not. It does not depend on observation. This independence allows you to let go. The galaxy will remain balanced without your attention. You may feel a soft reassurance in this. Systems can be stable without effort. Calm can be maintained without control. As breathing deepens, the layered galaxy begins to resemble layered rest. Surface thoughts drift. Deeper quiet remains. You are allowed to sink into this quiet, supported by something vast and patient. Nothing here rushes, nothing demands clarity. The disk, the halo, and the space beyond continue existing gently, layered calm upon layered calm. And as these quiet layers continue resting together, your attention drifts inward toward the softer regions of the galaxy, where light thins and stillness grows even deeper. You begin to feel the vastness gently narrow, not into something smaller, but into something closer. Your attention drifts inward, settling on where you already are. Within the wide spiral of the Milky Way, there is a quiet region where existence feels steady and unremarkable, and that is where you find yourself now. You are not near the bright center where stars crowd closely together. You are not at the distant edges where the galaxy thins into darkness. You rest in between, in a calm stretch of the spiral where motion is smooth and predictable. This place does not stand out, and that is part of its comfort. Here, stars are spaced generously. Light arrives without intensity. Distances allow calm to exist naturally. Nothing presses inward. Nothing pulls too strongly. Balance feels effortless. As your breathing remains slow, the idea of location begins to feel less like a coordinate and more like a sense of belonging. You are already inside something that holds its shape quietly, something that does not require attention to remain stable. The stars around you move together, sharing the same long rotation around the galaxy. Their motion is so gentle that it fades into the background of awareness. This shared movement creates a feeling of companionship without closeness, connection without crowding. You might imagine this region as a wide neighborhood rather than a destination. Nothing dramatic happens here. That absence of drama allows rest. Light in this part of the galaxy feels familiar. It is neither harsh nor dim. It arrives softly, carrying warmth without urgency. Shadows exist, but they do not feel heavy. Dust and gas drift calmly through this region, never gathering too densely, never dispersing completely. But the materials that make stars possible move patiently, waiting without anticipation. As awareness settles, you may notice how reassuring it feels to be somewhere unremarkable. There is no pressure to be at the center. There is no need to be at the edge. Stability lives comfortably in the middle. The galaxy does not treat locations differently in terms of importance. Each region plays its quiet role. This one offers space, calm, and consistency. You are carried along by the galaxy's slow rotation, yet this movement does not feel like travel. It feels like being held within a gentle current that has always been there. The idea of motion becomes almost symbolic. You are moving without going anywhere, changing position without feeling change. This paradox feels deeply restful. As thoughts soften, the sense of safety grows. This region of the Milky Way has remained calm for very long periods. It has avoided extremes, allowing systems to develop without disruption. Nothing here needs to hurry. Stars complete their paths over vast stretches of time. Planetary systems remain undisturbed by sudden shifts. Predictability allows ease. You may imagine the galaxy as a slow wheel, and you are resting on one of its quiet spokes, carried steadily without effort. This place does not demand awareness. It remains stable whether noticed or not. That independence allows you to release responsibility. As breathing deepens, the feeling of being already inside something supportive becomes clear. There is no need to arrive. You have always been here. The spiral arms pass gently around you, but not through you. Their influence is felt as mild guidance rather than force. The flow remains smooth. You might sense how rare this balance is, yet it does not feel fragile. It feels established, reinforced by repetition and time. The stars nearby are varied, yet none dominate. Their differences blend into a background presence that feels textured but calm. You are not required to imagine specific stars. The sense of distributed light is enough. Brightness exists without glare. This region of the galaxy avoids intense events. It remains distant from crowded zones where change happens more often. That distance offers quiet continuity. As awareness drifts, the idea of cosmic shelter emerges gently. Not protection in a dramatic sense, but a natural positioning that favors stability. The galaxy did not choose this place intentionally. It emerged through slow processes that favored balance. That balance remains because it works. You may notice how comforting it feels to be part of something that functions well without intention. There is no pressure to improve or optimize. The spiral continues turning, but this region does not experience sudden shifts in environment. Light levels remain steady. Space remains open. This steadiness allows attention to rest without scanning for change. The mind does not need to stay alert here. You are allowed to let go of curiosity for a moment. Knowing where you are is enough. As time stretches, the distinction between being somewhere and simply being begins to blur. Location becomes background. Presence becomes foreground. The galaxy holds this region gently, like a wide hand resting without grip. There is support without pressure. You may feel how this allows the body to soften further. Muscles release when nothing threatens balance. Even the idea of scale becomes gentle here. Vastness does not overwhelm. It surrounds quietly. This place within the spiral does not stand out on a map, and that anonymity feels peaceful. Nothing is expected of it. You might imagine countless other quiet regions like this, each offering calm without announcement. The galaxy is full of such places. As awareness drifts inward, the sense of being already safe replaces the need for reassurance. Safety is simply present. The spiral arms continue their slow dance around the center, but your position remains comfortably distant from intensity. You are not separate from this motion. You participate without effort, carried by balance rather than force. The idea of home arises softly, not as a structure or location, but as a feeling of being where conditions allow rest. This home does not require permanence. It exists because stability has persisted long enough to feel reliable. As thoughts slow, the awareness of place dissolves into awareness of calm. Location no longer matters. The galaxy does not mind when attention fades. It continues holding everything gently. You may notice how easy it is to stop thinking about position and simply feel held. The spiral becomes background motion again, steady and predictable. Nothing here demands your focus. You are free to drift. As the chapter settles, the sense of being inside something vast yet gentle remains. You do not need to move closer to anything. You are already exactly where balance exists. And as this quiet place within the spiral continues carrying you gently along, your attention drifts toward the softer glow of nearby stars, where light feels close and calm. You begin to notice motion again, but it is not the kind that pulls attention forward. It is a motion that feels dependable, almost comforting, like a rhythm you no longer need to listen for. Stars within the Milky Way drift along their paths slowly, carried by balance rather than urgency. Each star moves in a long, patient orbit around the galaxy's center. These paths are not hurried circles. They are wide, graceful curves that take immense spans of time to complete. Because of this, motion feels steady rather than dynamic, reliable rather than dramatic. You are already part of this movement. Everything around you, including the stars nearby, shares this slow journey. Yet the motion is so gentle that it does not feel like traveling. It feels like resting while being carried. As your breathing remains calm, the idea of orbit softens. Stars are not racing to stay in place. They remain where they belong because movement itself creates balance. Motion here is not disruption, it is stability. The paths stars follow are shaped by the shared presence of the galaxy. Each star responds to the collective influence of countless others, adjusting gently rather than resisting. No single star controls the movement. Order emerges quietly from cooperation. You may imagine these orbits as long loops traced across deep time. Each loop takes so long to complete that beginnings and endings lose meaning. There is only continuation. This continuation is soothing. Nothing needs to arrive. Nothing needs to finish. The journey itself is enough. Stars rarely cross paths closely. The distances between them are vast, allowing each one to travel without interference. Space itself provides calm, preventing collisions simply by being wide. You might sense how reassuring this is. Stability here does not require constant correction. It arises naturally from spacing and time. As awareness drifts, the idea of speed fades. Some stars move slightly faster than others, but all movement remains slow when measured against the scale of the galaxy. Differences blend into a shared rhythm. This rhythm feels almost like breathing, a gentle in and out, expansion and return, though the timescale stretches beyond perception. Stars closer to the galaxy's center complete their paths sooner than those farther out. Yet even these differences unfold calmly. Nothing feels rushed. Every star moves at a pace that maintains harmony. You do not need to imagine exact trajectories. The feeling of long, curved motion is enough. The galaxy does not expect precision from attention. Light travels alongside these stars, arriving quietly from different moments in time. Some of the light you sense began its journey long ago, reaching you now without announcing its age. This blending of times feels natural. Past and present coexist peacefully here, layered into a single experience. As thoughts soften, the idea of orbit begins to resemble rest itself. The body does not remain perfectly still when resting. It breathes, it shifts slightly. Motion supports comfort. Stars drift the same way. Their movement prevents collapse, allowing balance to persist. Stillness here would be more disruptive than motion. This understanding can feel comforting. You do not need to stop completely to be at rest. Gentle movement can support calm. The galaxy has maintained these orbits for very long periods. Patterns repeat reliably, allowing systems to remain stable across ages. This reliability removes surprise. Nothing sudden changes direction. Nothing accelerates unexpectedly. Predictability allows ease. You may notice how this steadiness encourages sleepiness. The mind does not need to stay alert when patterns are dependable. Stars respond to gravity not as a command, but as a relationship. They move because moving keeps them connected to the whole. This connection does not feel binding. It feels supportive, like being held loosely enough to breathe freely. As awareness drifts further, the idea of drifting itself becomes soothing. Stars do not strain to maintain their paths. They follow naturally. You might imagine watching a star complete a small portion of its orbit. Over your entire lifetime, its position would change only slightly. This slowness feels calming rather than dull. The galaxy does not measure time in short units. It allows processes to unfold gradually, trusting continuity. Stars are born into these orbits and remain within them for long durations. Their movement provides consistency rather than excitement. Even when stars eventually change or fade, the overall pattern of motion remains. The system absorbs individual changes without disruption. You may sense how safe this makes the galaxy feel. No single change threatens the whole. As breathing deepens, the body may mirror this gentle motion, settling into a steady rhythm of its own. There is nothing you need to do to match this rhythm. It arrives naturally when urgency fades. Stars also move slightly up and down relative to the galactic plane, creating subtle waves over long timescales. These motions are slow enough to feel like gentle swaying. This swaying does not disturb balance. It adds softness, preventing rigidity. You may imagine the galaxy as a slow ocean of stars, each one rising and falling gently while drifting along broad currents. Nothing crashes. Nothing breaks. Motion remains fluid. As attention continues to soften, the concept of orbit fades into background comfort. You no longer need to picture paths. You can feel steadiness without imagery. The galaxy does not require awareness to maintain these movements. It continues whether observed or not. This independence allows you to rest without responsibility. You are not needed to keep things moving. The long orbits of stars create a quiet assurance that systems can function smoothly without effort. You may notice thoughts slowing to match this pace. Ideas stretch out, losing urgency. Pauses between thoughts lengthen. Stars complete their paths over spans so long that they feel timeless. Motion becomes a form of permanence rather than change. This paradox feels calming. Movement that preserves stability invites trust. As awareness drifts, you may feel gently carried by something vast and steady. There is no sense of being pushed forward. The galaxy's slow rotation and the star's long orbits combine into a single background flow. This flow supports everything without calling attention to itself. You are free to let go now. There is nothing to track, nothing to anticipate. The idea of drifting becomes comforting. Stars drift. Light drifts. Thoughts drift. This drifting does not lead anywhere specific. It simply continues. As the chapter settles, the sense of long, reliable motion remains as a quiet presence. You are held within a system that moves slowly enough to feel still. Nothing rushes. Nothing collides. Everything remains gently in place through movement itself. And as these slow, dependable orbits continue carrying the stars along, your attention drifts toward the softer glow of nearby starlight, where warmth and calm feel even closer. You drift now into regions where the galaxy feels softer, less defined, as if edges have been gently blurred. Here, light thins, and space fills with calm clouds of gas and dust. These clouds do not announce themselves. They rest quietly between stars, floating without urgency, holding possibility without expectation. You might imagine them as vast, faint veils spread gently across space. They are not empty, and they are not crowded. They exist in a balanced state, where particles move slowly, guided by temperature, gravity, and time rather than force. Nothing here is in a hurry to become something else. As your breathing remains slow, the idea of creation begins to feel different. In these clouds, nothing bursts into existence. Nothing appears suddenly. Change happens so gradually that it feels like deepening rest rather than activity. Gas drifts softly, atoms moving at calm speeds, occasionally brushing past one another, then drifting apart again. Dust grains float alongside, tiny fragments of older stars carried patiently through space. These materials are not chaotic. They are suspended in a quiet equilibrium. You are allowed to rest with this image. There is nothing dramatic to follow. The beauty here lies in slowness and potential rather than action. Over very long periods, subtle differences appear within these clouds. Some regions become slightly denser, others remain diffuse. These differences emerge naturally without intention or direction. They are the result of gentle accumulation rather than forceful gathering. You may sense how comforting this feels. Even creation begins from rest. Nothing needs to be rushed for something new to eventually form. Gravity plays a soft role here. It does not pull sharply or suddenly. It nudges. It encourages closeness over immense spans of time. Particles respond without resistance, drifting a little closer, then settling. As awareness drifts, the idea of gravity feels less like a command and more like an invitation. Matter responds when conditions allow, not before. Temperature within these clouds remains low enough to encourage stillness. Heat does not stir rapid motion. Cold allows particles to linger, to remain close once they arrive. This calm environment supports quiet change. Without turbulence, patterns can emerge slowly, guided by repetition rather than intensity. You may imagine these clouds as places where nothing is expected. They are not waiting impatiently. They simply exist, holding material gently until the time is right. Dust within the clouds plays its part quietly. It absorbs light, cools surrounding gas, and creates pockets of deeper calm. These pockets allow gravity to work more effectively, though still slowly. Nothing here is visible in bright colors or sharp outlines. The clouds are subtle, revealed only by faint glows or gentle shadows against distant starlight. Their presence is felt more than seen. As thoughts soften, the idea of unseen work becomes comforting. Important processes do not require visibility. They unfold quietly, whether noticed or not. Within some regions, gas begins to settle a little more densely, not enough to feel crowded, just enough to feel closer. Over long periods, this closeness allows gentle warming and slow change. You may sense how natural this progression feels. Rest deepens before movement begins. Stillness prepares the way. Even when parts of these clouds eventually give rise to new stars, the process remains calm at first. Material gathers slowly, rotating gently, compressing without violence. You are not required to imagine the details of this transformation. The feeling of patient becoming is enough. These clouds exist throughout the Milky Way, scattered quietly along spiral arms and between them. They are common, yet they do not dominate. They remain in the background, supporting the galaxy without drawing attention. As awareness drifts, you may notice how similar this feels to rest itself. The body prepares quietly, muscles soften, breathing deepens. Nothing forces sleep. It arrives when conditions allow. The galaxy trusts these slow processes. It does not hurry creation. It allows material to take the time it needs. Some clouds remain unchanged for extremely long periods. They do not fail. They simply continue resting, holding potential without obligation. This idea can feel reassuring. Possibility does not need to become reality immediately to have value. The clouds are shaped gently by their surroundings. Passing stars warm edges slightly. Distant motion stirs faint currents. Yet even these influences remain soft and gradual. Nothing disrupts the overall calm. The clouds absorb change rather than reacting sharply to it. You may imagine drifting through one of these regions, surrounded by faint matter and deep quiet. Sound would not travel here. Movement would feel slow and cushioned. This imagined stillness invites your own thoughts to slow further. There is nothing to interpret, nothing to analyze. The clouds carry the memory of older stars as well. Dust grains formed long ago continue their quiet journey, contributing to new possibilities without fanfare. Nothing here feels new or old. Time blends together, layered gently into the material itself. As your breathing remains steady, the sense of potential without pressure becomes deeply restful. Nothing needs to happen next. Even when gravity eventually gathers material enough to begin a new phase, that moment arrives gradually without a clear boundary. Rest turns into motion seamlessly. The galaxy allows these transitions to occur quietly, trusting that balance will be maintained. You are free to let attention drift now. The clouds do not require observation. They remain calm whether noticed or not. This independence allows you to release effort. The universe continues its gentle work without your participation. Clouds of gas and dust remind you that beginnings do not need urgency. They need time, calm, and space. You may sense how this applies inwardly. Ideas, rest, and sleep arrive naturally when conditions are gentle. Nothing here rushes toward completion. Everything unfolds when it is ready. The Milky Way contains countless such clouds, each one a quiet reservoir of possibility. They do not compete. They coexist peacefully. As awareness softens, the idea of creation becomes less about action and more about readiness. These clouds are ready without striving. They hold what they hold, trusting time to guide what comes next. You may notice your own body responding to this rhythm, releasing tension without instruction. The mind, too, can rest without needing to resolve anything. The clouds drift, particles move slowly, gravity nudges gently, and time allows everything to remain balanced. Nothing bursts, nothing shatters. Creation here is a quiet continuation of rest. As the chapter settles, the sense of calm potential remains. You are surrounded by spaces where change begins softly, without demand. And as these quiet clouds continue holding their gentle possibilities, your attention drifts toward the faint warmth beginning to gather within them, where calm creation slowly deepens. You move now into a phase of creation that feels almost imperceptible. Nothing announces itself. There are no flashes, no sharp beginnings. Starbirth begins without sound, without spectacle, unfolding so slowly that it feels more like a deepening calm than an event. You remain within the quiet clouds you sensed before, but something subtle begins to change. Not everywhere, only in certain places where balance gently shifts. Pressure gathers, not as force, but as closeness. Particles drift nearer to one another, guided by patience rather than urgency. This gathering happens over immense stretches of time. It does not hurry. The cloud does not collapse suddenly. It settles inward, gradually, as if exhaling very slowly. Nothing breaks, nothing resists. As your breathing stays soft, you can imagine this inward motion as barely noticeable. Gas cools, density increases slightly. Gravity continues its quiet encouragement, drawing material closer without command. There is no sound in this process. Space does not carry vibration the way air does. Even if something dramatic were happening, it would arrive in silence. But here, drama is unnecessary. Everything unfolds gently enough that silence feels appropriate. Dust and gas move together, forming a loose structure that slowly becomes more defined. Rotation begins naturally, not as a sudden spin, but as a gradual response to motion already present. The forming shape turns calmly, like a thought circling in a resting mind. You do not need to follow each detail. The feeling of patient becoming is enough. As material gathers, the center grows warmer, not hot, just warmer. Pressure increases steadily, evenly, without disruption. The surrounding cloud continues to cushion this change, absorbing movement and maintaining calm. This warming takes an extraordinary amount of time. It does not rush toward ignition. It allows balance to guide each step. The growing core remains hidden, wrapped in layers of gas and dust that protect it from sudden change. You may notice how comforting this feels. Even something as powerful as a star begins in protection and quiet. Light does not appear all at once. Before anything shines outward, energy builds slowly within. The surrounding material keeps that energy contained, allowing it to mature rather than escape. Nothing here demands attention. Even creation prefers privacy. As your awareness drifts, the idea of beginnings becomes softer. Birth does not require noise. It requires conditions that allow change to unfold safely. The cloud continues to feed the forming star gently, offering material without depletion or strain. This exchange remains balanced. Nothing is taken abruptly. Over time, the center becomes dense enough for a new phase to begin. Energy production starts deep within, but still, nothing is visible from outside. Light exists before it is seen. You are invited to rest with this idea. Some things begin long before they are noticed. Eventually, as energy increases, pressure pushes outward. The surrounding cloud responds gradually, thinning but not tearing. Light begins to filter through, softly at first, diffused and gentle. This emergence feels less like an explosion and more like a quiet dawn. Light spreads slowly, touching nearby space without startling it. You might imagine this first light as warm rather than bright, steady rather than sharp. It does not demand to be seen. It simply exists. The star has not arrived suddenly. It has been becoming for a very long time. Around it, the remaining cloud continues to drift, reshaped but still calm. Some material settles into disks, some drifts away. Nothing is wasted. Everything finds a place. The newborn star does not disrupt its surroundings. Its presence feels natural, as if it has always belonged there. As your breathing remains unforced, you may sense how similar this feels to waking gently or falling asleep. Transitions do not need to be abrupt to be real. Stars are born throughout the Milky Way in this quiet way, not in isolation, but within calm neighborhoods of gas and dust. Many form together, sharing space without conflict. Their early light remains soft, filtered by the remnants of their birthplace. Nothing here is harsh. Nothing overwhelms. Time continues to move slowly. The star settles into balance, finding stability through gentle adjustment rather than sudden change. You are not asked to remember details. The feeling of quiet creation is enough. Even as the star begins its long life, it does not rush forward. It remains steady, converting energy calmly, shining without effort. This steadiness can feel deeply reassuring. The universe does not rely on constant intensity. It values balance. As attention drifts, the idea of silence becomes comforting rather than empty. Silence here is full of process, full of gentle motion. The star's light spreads outward, traveling patiently through space. It does not hurry to reach anything. It simply moves, moment by moment. You may imagine this light reaching distant clouds, warming them slightly, contributing to future possibilities without urgency. Creation supports creation, quietly, across time. The newborn star does not know it is new. It simply exists, balanced and calm, held in place by gravity and motion. Around it, space remains spacious. There is no crowding. Everything has room to breathe. You may notice how this mirrors rest itself. Nothing presses, nothing pulls. Balance holds. As the chapter continues, the sense of calm deepens. Starbirth is not a single moment. It is a long transition from potential to presence. This transition feels safe, protected, unhurried. The universe allows stars to arrive gently, trusting time to shape them properly. You are free to let your thoughts soften now. There is nothing to track. Light continues to emerge, slowly brightening but never rushing. The surrounding space adjusts naturally. The star finds its place within the galaxy, joining countless others that formed the same quiet way. No applause follows. No announcement is made. The universe continues calmly. As your awareness rests with this process, you may feel permission to rest as well. Becoming does not require effort. Stars are born without sound because sound is unnecessary. Silence holds everything needed. The galaxy glows softly with these countless quiet beginnings, each one unfolding patiently. You may imagine drifting away from this scene now, carrying the sense that even the most powerful things begin gently. And as this quiet light settles into steady balance, your attention drifts onward toward how these stars continue their calm journeys together through the galaxy. You are now invited to rest with something that has been traveling for a very long time, not rushing, not hurrying to arrive, but simply moving steadily and patiently across distances so large they soften the mind instead of stretching it. This is ancient light, reaching you now. Light does not hurry through the galaxy. It moves at a constant pace, but the spaces it crosses are vast beyond everyday meaning. What arrives at your awareness tonight has already completed an unimaginably long journey. It carries no urgency with it, only quiet history. As you breathe gently, you can imagine this light leaving its source long before this moment existed. Before familiar landscapes, before remembered days. It begins as energy released calmly from a distant star, spreading outward without intention, without awareness of destination. There is no awareness in light. It does not aim, it does not search, it simply travels, following the structure of space itself. It moves through emptiness that is not empty, guided gently by the shape of the galaxy. The journey is uninterrupted. There are no stops, no pauses, no decisions. Just continuous motion through calm darkness. Some of this light has crossed spiral arms. Some has drifted above the galactic disk. Some has passed through thin clouds of gas, scattering slightly, softening as it goes. None of this alters its purpose, because it has none. You are free to let this idea wash over you slowly. Nothing here requires effort. As time passes, the light continues onward. Years pass, ages pass. Civilizations rise and fall on distant planets that the light never notices. It continues calmly. This light carries information, but not intention. It holds subtle traces of the environment it came from. Temperature, motion, composition. All encoded quietly in its movement. By the time it arrives, it is already old, very old. Yet it does not feel tired, it feels steady. You may notice how comforting this is. Even after such a long journey, nothing is strained. Some of the light reaching you tonight began its path before your planet existed. Some before your star settled into its current balance. It has witnessed change without reacting to it. The galaxy itself slowly turns while the light travels. Entire regions shift their position. Stars drift. Dust reshapes. Yet the light continues on, unchanged in its calm motion. There is something deeply settling about this constancy. As your body rests, you might imagine the light passing through space that is gently curved by gravity. It bends slightly, adjusting its path without resistance. Even gravity feels soft at these scales. Nothing collides, nothing interferes abruptly. The universe allows passage. Eventually, after its long journey, the light enters the region where you exist. It passes through familiar space quietly, unnoticed until it meets your eyes, or an instrument or a surface. When it reaches you, it does not announce its age. It does not demand attention. It simply arrives. You do not need to understand how long it has traveled. The feeling of patience is enough. Light carries no memory, yet it brings history with it. Not as stories, but as presence. A gentle reminder that time can move without pressure. As you listen, the idea of age begins to soften. Old does not mean worn. Old can mean steady, reliable, complete. This ancient light has crossed distances that are difficult to imagine, yet it remains unchanged in nature. It has not grown hurried or heavy. It remains light. The galaxy is filled with this quiet movement. Countless streams of light crossing paths, never colliding, never tangling, each following its own calm trajectory. You are surrounded by this motion even now, though most of it goes unnoticed. Light from distant stars passes by constantly, indifferent to whether it is seen. That indifference feels peaceful. As your breathing remains slow, you may sense how this light connects moments across time. not by effort, but by continuity. The light does not know it has arrived. It does not stop. It continues onward, passing through, moving beyond, still calm. Even the act of seeing is a brief interaction. Light touches your awareness and continues. You are not holding it. You are meeting it briefly. There is comfort in this fleeting connection. Nothing needs to be kept. Some of this light began as warmth in a stellar core, released gently, step by step, before escaping into space. That process itself was slow, balanced, and calm. Nothing explosive is required for light to exist. As it traveled, the light was not alone. It moved among countless others, all sharing the same calm speed, never overtaking one another. Time feels different at this scale. Years lose meaning. Only continuity remains. You are welcome to let your thoughts drift here. There is nothing to solve. This ancient light has crossed regions shaped by gravity, dark matter, and motion, yet it has never been harmed by the journey. Space is kind to travelers like this. The galaxy holds pathways that remain open for billions of years. When light reaches you now, it brings a sense of perspective, not smallness, just spaciousness. Your place within this flow feels gentle. You are not separate from it. You are part of where the journey passes through. As your awareness softens, you may feel how this long travel mirrors rest itself. A steady movement without urgency. Nothing asks you to stay awake for this. Nothing asks you to follow. Light continues whether you notice or not. This realization can feel deeply calming. The universe does not depend on your attention to continue its quiet processes. Ancient light reaches you now, not because it sought you, but because paths aligned naturally. This alignment required no effort. As you rest with this idea, your body may relax further. Shoulders soften. Jaw releases. Breathing remains natural. There is nothing you need to do with this information. It can pass through gently, just like the light itself. The galaxy continues to glow softly with these countless arrivals, each one ancient, each one calm. And as this light moves onward past you, your attention begins to drift toward how these stars, long formed, continue shining steadily through time together. And as the ancient light continues on its endless journey, your thoughts drift gently forward toward the quiet lives of the stars still shining beyond it. You now rest with something that is always present, always working, yet never calling attention to itself. Gravity does not announce its role. It does not flash or shimmer. It simply holds, quietly and patiently, shaping everything without sound. You are already within its care. You always have been. Gravity is not experienced here as a pull or a force, but as a gentle arrangement. It gives structure to the galaxy without tightening its grip. It allows stars to drift, clouds to gather, and light to travel without resistance. Nothing feels strained. As you breathe slowly, you can imagine gravity not as something acting upon objects, but as something creating belonging. Stars remain with one another because the space between them is shaped to encourage togetherness. No effort is required. This shaping happens everywhere at once, not through commands or pressure, but through quiet influence. Space itself curves gently, inviting motion to follow calm paths. The galaxy remains intact because gravity does not rush. It does not change suddenly. It holds patterns steady across immense stretches of time. This steadiness allows everything else to relax into place. Stars orbit the galactic center without needing instructions. Their paths feel like habits formed over ages, repeated calmly without interruption. Each star follows its own route, yet remains part of the larger whole. There is no crowding here. Gravity does not compress unnecessarily. It balances distance and closeness, allowing vast spaces to remain open while still maintaining connection. You may notice how similar this feels to deep rest. Support without pressure, structure without demand. Gravity shapes spiral arms slowly, guiding their graceful curves without forcing them. The galaxy's form emerges naturally, not as a design imposed, but as a result of patient holding. Nothing snaps into place. Everything settles. As your awareness drifts, you may imagine gravity as a quiet presence that never tires. It does not weaken with age. It does not grow impatient. It remains consistent, moment after moment, age after age. This consistency allows the galaxy to remain stable even as individual parts change. Stars are born, stars fade, clouds move, light passes through. Gravity remains. It does not interfere with these processes. It supports them. You are not required to understand equations or mechanisms. The feeling of calm order is enough. Gravity does not push stars inward aggressively. It allows them to orbit at distances that feel safe and sustainable. Nothing rushes toward collapse. Balance is maintained gently. Even at the galactic center, where mass gathers, gravity behaves with restraint. Motion remains smooth. Paths remain predictable. Nothing feels chaotic. The galaxy breathes slowly through these motions, expanding awareness rather than tightening it. As you listen, your body may recognize this pattern. Support does not need to be firm to be effective. Stability can be gentle. Gravity also guides the movement of gas and dust, helping clouds gather gradually. It does not force creation. It allows conditions to become favorable over time. This patience is essential. Without it, the galaxy would feel restless. Instead, it feels settled. You may imagine gravity as a quiet agreement between everything that exists. A shared understanding of where things belong, maintained without conversation. Even dark matter, unseen and silent, participates in this holding. It contributes to the galaxy's structure without revealing itself. Support does not always need to be visible. The galaxy remains together not because it is tightly bound, but because it is gently shaped. So freedom and connection coexist here. As your breathing remains unforced, the idea of gravity becomes less abstract. It feels like something familiar, something that has always been present, asking nothing from you. Gravity does not demand attention. It does not require belief. It works regardless. This can feel deeply reassuring. The universe does not depend on constant effort to remain intact. Stars continue their long orbits, taking hundreds of millions of years to complete a single journey around the galactic center. Yet none of this feels slow or fast. It simply feels right. Time loses urgency when stability is assured. Gravity also allows space to remain spacious. It does not fill every gap. It does not compress everything into density. It respects distance. This respect creates room for calm. As you rest with this idea, you may feel supported in the same way, held but not constrained. The galaxy's long-term stability comes from this balance. Too little gravity and everything drifts apart. Too much and motion becomes strained. The balance remains. This balance has existed for billions of years. It has not required correction. It has not needed adjustment. The universe seems comfortable maintaining it. As your thoughts soften, You may sense how gravity's quiet role mirrors sleep itself. Sleep holds awareness gently, allowing rest without force. Nothing pulls you sharply into sleep. You drift naturally. Gravity also guides light, bending its path slightly as it travels. Even light accepts this influence calmly, adjusting without resistance. Nothing here resists being held. The galaxy does not wobble or shake. Its motion remains smooth, continuous, reliable. Patterns repeat with subtle variation, never urgency. You may imagine gravity as the soft background music of the universe, always present, never loud enough to distract. This presence allows stars to shine steadily. Without gravity, their balance would fail. With it, they remain calm sources of light. Everything relies on this quiet structure, yet nothing needs to acknowledge it. As your body rests more deeply, you might feel how reassurance settles in when support is constant. When nothing threatens collapse, gravity does not prevent change. It allows change to happen safely. Stars can form, stars can fade, systems can evolve. All of this occurs within a calm framework. You are free to let this sense of support move through you now. There is nothing to grasp. The galaxy continues to turn slowly, held together by this unseen presence. Nothing rushes ahead. Nothing falls behind. Balance remains. As your awareness drifts, gravity becomes less something to think about and more something to feel. A quiet assurance beneath everything. You do not need to follow every motion. The knowledge that things are held is enough. The galaxy rests within gravity's care, just as you rest within the rhythm of this moment. And as this gentle structure continues its endless work, your thoughts begin to drift toward how the galaxy, so calmly held, gathers with others across even wider cosmic spaces. And while gravity continues holding everything together without sound, your attention softens toward the quiet company galaxies keep beyond their own calm boundaries. You now move into an idea that is often described as hidden. But here, it feels gentle and steady. Nothing mysterious presses in. Nothing needs to be solved. Dark matter is not something to fear or imagine sharply. It is simply a quiet support, present without asking to be seen. You are already familiar with supports that work this way. The frame of a house hidden behind walls, the roots of a tree beneath the ground. They do not announce themselves, yet they allow everything above them to remain calm and stable. Dark matter fills the galaxy in a similar way. It does not glow. It does not shine. It does not scatter light or demand attention. It simply exists, shaping motion softly, allowing stars to move as they do. As your breathing stays slow, you can imagine this presence as a gentle background. Not an object, not a cloud, not a force you can point to. More like a quiet influence that never interrupts. The stars you have been resting with do not drift away because something unseen helps hold them in their long paths. Their orbits remain smooth. Their motions remain predictable. Balance is maintained. Dark matter does not pull sharply. It does not grab. It does not rush stars inward. Instead, it creates a broad, calm structure that supports the galaxy as a whole. You might imagine it as a wide, invisible embrace that keeps everything comfortably arranged. This support has been present for a very long time. From the earliest stages of the galaxy's formation, dark matter shaped how material gathered. It allowed gas and dust to settle into patterns that later became stars. Nothing here happens suddenly. Everything unfolds slowly, guided by steady influence. Dark matter does not change its behavior from moment to moment. It remains consistent across time spans so large they soften the idea of urgency completely. This consistency allows the galaxy to feel settled rather than restless. As your awareness drifts, you may sense how reassuring it is to know that support does not need to be visible to be effective. Stability does not require constant explanation. The galaxy rotates as it does because dark matter helps shape the overall motion. Without it, the outer regions would drift differently. With it, everything remains calmly aligned. There is no tension in this arrangement. Nothing strains to stay together. Motion feels natural. Dark matter does not interact with light in the way ordinary matter does. Light passes through it quietly, unaffected, continuing on its ancient journeys. Even here, there is no interference. This invisibility does not mean absence, it means gentleness. You are not asked to picture what dark matter looks like. You are invited to feel what it allows. It allows order without rigidity. It allows movement without chaos. As your body rests, the idea of unseen support may feel comforting. You do not need to see everything holding you up. Dark matter does not compete with stars or gas. It does not dominate. It simply supports, shaping the galaxy's overall form without disrupting individual lives within it. The spiral arms remain graceful because the underlying structure is calm. The galaxy does not unravel. It does not tighten. It remains balanced. This balance has lasted for billions of years. Nothing about dark matter suggests urgency. It does not act quickly. It does not fluctuate wildly. It remains steady, reliable, patient. As your breathing deepens, you may feel how this mirrors deep rest. Support remains even when awareness fades. Dark matter continues doing its work whether anyone observes it or not. It does not depend on attention. This independence feels peaceful. The galaxy is larger than what can be seen. Most of its mass does not glow. Yet this unseen portion does not feel empty or threatening. It feels quietly full. The stars you see are only part of the story. The rest unfolds silently, without spectacle. Dark matter shapes the galaxy's halo, extending far beyond the visible disk. This wide reach allows the galaxy to move as a single, coherent whole rather than a scattered collection. Nothing at the edges feels loose or unstable. As your thoughts soften, the idea of edges themselves begins to fade. The galaxy does not feel like it has hard boundaries. Everything transitions gently. Dark matter does not crowd space. It does not fill it densely. It allows room. This spacious support gives the galaxy its sense of calm scale. You may notice how your own body rests better when support is broad rather than focused, when nothing presses too tightly. The presence of dark matter allows stars in the outer regions to move comfortably, never feeling forgotten or disconnected. No star is left unsupported. As time passes, galaxies interact and drift, yet dark matter remains with them, shaping their motion through these long encounters. Even these interactions unfold slowly, without collision or shock. Support remains continuous. Dark matter does not resist change. It allows evolution to happen safely. Galaxies grow, merge, and adjust within its calm framework. Nothing is rushed. As your awareness drifts further, you may feel permission to stop trying to understand everything clearly. Some things can simply be accepted as supportive presences. Dark matter does not ask to be named or described precisely here. It simply holds. This holding allows stars to shine steadily. It allows gas to gather calmly. It allows light to travel undisturbed. Everything you have been resting with depends on this quiet support, yet nothing about it feels heavy. The galaxy floats within this unseen structure, balanced and secure, like something resting on calm water. As your breathing remains slow and natural, the idea of hidden support may extend inward. You are also supported in ways you do not need to monitor. Nothing needs your attention right now. Dark matter continues its silent work, unchanged by passing time, unaffected by momentary events. This steadiness creates a deep sense of trust. The universe does not rely on constant effort to remain intact. It relies on quiet structures that endure. As this chapter draws gently toward its close, the sense of being held without pressure becomes more familiar. You may feel how easy it is to rest when support does not demand acknowledgement. Dark matter remains unseen, yet always present, allowing the galaxy to remain calm and whole. And as this quiet support continues without pause, your thoughts begin to drift outward toward how galaxies themselves gather softly together across the wider universe. You now rest with the idea that the galaxy remembers, not in words, not in thoughts, but in structure and motion. The Milky Way carries its past quietly, holding traces of everything that has ever unfolded within it. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is forgotten. Time here feels wide and patient. The galaxy does not experience moments the way you do. It does not divide existence into days or years. Change arrives so slowly that it blends into stillness. What feels ancient to you feels recent here. What feels permanent to you is still gently changing. As you breathe, you can imagine the galaxy as a long record written without ink. Every orbit leaves a trace. Every movement adds a layer. Nothing needs to be preserved deliberately. Memory forms naturally through continuity. Stars drift along paths shaped long ago. Some follow routes established before your planet existed. Others trace motions that began even earlier. These paths do not fade. They repeat calmly, reinforcing the galaxy's quiet recollection. The spiral shape you sense is not fixed. It slowly reshapes itself over immense spans of time. Yet, because this reshaping happens so gradually, it feels stable. Memory and change coexist without tension. Gas clouds carry histories within them as well. Their composition reflects generations of stars that formed, shone, and settled. Each cloud is a gentle archive of past processes, mixed and softened over time. You do not need to understand the details of this memory. The feeling of endurance is enough. The Milky Way has experienced calm periods and more active ones, yet none of this feels dramatic from within. Even moments of greater change unfold slowly, spaced across millions of years. Nothing arrives suddenly enough to disturb the overall sense of rest. As your awareness drifts, you may notice how comforting this scale feels. Urgency has no place here. There is always time. The galaxy remembers star formation through the distribution of its stars. Older populations remain quietly present, moving steadily, while younger stars join them without disruption. Age does not create separation. Everything shares space. Dark matter contributes to this memory as well, holding the galaxy's structure steady so that long-term patterns can persist. Without this quiet support, memory would blur. With it, continuity remains. Light itself carries fragments of memory as it travels. When light reaches you, it brings information shaped long ago. This information does not demand interpretation. It simply arrives, carrying the calm imprint of its origin. You may sense how this deep memory removes pressure from the present moment. Nothing needs to be completed quickly. Nothing needs to resolve tonight. The galaxy does not hurry toward outcomes. It allows processes to unfold fully, without shortcuts. As stars age, their changes occur gradually. They brighten slowly, shift gently, and eventually settle into quieter states. These transitions add to the galaxy's long awareness without disrupting its balance. Nothing here is wasted. Material from older stars becomes part of new clouds, continuing the cycle. Memory does not remain static, it flows. This flow feels circular rather than linear. Endings soften into beginnings. Nothing is lost. As your breathing remains steady, you may feel how this mirrors rest itself. Sleep does not erase the day, it integrates it gently. The Milky Way integrates its past in the same way. Each era blends into the next without sharp boundaries. You might imagine standing within this immense record, not as an observer, but as a moment passing through. Your presence is brief here, but not insignificant. It becomes part of the galaxy's quiet continuity. The galaxy does not notice individual moments, yet it contains them all. Over time, small changes accumulate. Orbits shift slightly. Clouds disperse and reform. Stars drift farther from their birthplaces. Yet because this accumulation takes so long, it feels like stillness. Stillness here is not the absence of movement. It is movement so gentle that it calms the mind. You are not asked to track this change. You are invited to rest within it. The Milky Way's long memory allows it to remain stable even as it evolves. There is no need to reset or restart. Everything builds upon what came before. As your thoughts soften, the idea of deep time may feel less abstract. It feels like a wide, quiet space where nothing presses close. In this space, mistakes do not exist. Only processes unfolding at their natural pace. The galaxy remembers ancient interactions as well. Encounters with other galaxies left subtle marks in motion and structure. These marks remain not as scars, but as gentle influences shaping current paths. Nothing here feels damaged. Everything feels integrated. As stars continue their slow journeys, they reinforce the galaxy's sense of continuity. Their steady motion keeps memory alive without effort. The Milky Way does not need to recall its past actively. It carries it passively through shape, distribution, and motion. This passive memory feels deeply restful. You may notice how your own body carries memory in a similar way, not through constant thought, but through posture, rhythm, and breath. There is nothing you need to remember right now. The galaxy's memory does not weigh it down. It does not slow it unnecessarily. It provides context and stability. As your awareness drifts, the present moment feels less isolated. It feels connected to something much larger and calmer. The Milky Way has watched countless stars complete their quiet lives. It has held them all without judgment or urgency. This holding continues. Time within the galaxy stretches so far that beginnings and endings lose sharpness. Everything blends into a continuous unfolding. You may feel permission to let go of clocks and schedules here. They are not needed. The galaxy's long memory does not demand attention. It exists regardless of whether it is noticed. This existence feels reliable. As the chapter gently nears its close, the sense of deep time becomes more like a soft background than an idea. Something always present, always calm. The Milky Way continues to remember quietly, carrying its past forward without strain. And as this deep memory holds everything in place, your attention begins to drift toward how the galaxy, with all it remembers, quietly shares space with others beyond itself. And while the Milky Way continues holding its long memory without effort, your thoughts soften toward the gentle way galaxies gather together across the vast, quiet universe. You now widen your awareness just slightly, enough to sense that the Milky Way is not solitary. It exists in quiet company, surrounded by other galaxies that drift nearby, each one moving calmly through space without urgency or competition. Nothing crowds, nothing collides suddenly. Everything keeps a respectful distance. The universe feels social here, but softly so. Nearby galaxies do not rush toward one another. Their motion unfolds across immense spans of time, so slow that it feels almost like stillness. From this perspective, closeness does not mean pressure. It means shared space, gently arranged. As you breathe, you may imagine these neighboring galaxies as quiet lights in distant windows, visible but not intrusive. They glow steadily, each following its own rhythm while remaining aware of the others. Gravity connects them, but gently. It does not pull sharply or suddenly. It allows slow dances to unfold over billions of years, guided by balance rather than force. The Milky Way shares its region of space with several smaller companions. These galaxies move alongside it, not as rivals, but as fellow travelers. Their paths curve softly, shaped by long-term influence rather than immediate attraction. Nothing here feels chaotic. Some of these neighboring galaxies are faint and diffuse, spreading their stars loosely through space. Others are more compact, glowing quietly with their own internal calm. Each has its own character, yet none disrupts the greater harmony. As your awareness drifts, the idea of interaction becomes less dramatic. Galaxies do not collide like solid objects. When they approach, their stars pass by one another with vast distances in between. Motion remains gentle, even when galaxies draw closer. The process unfolds so slowly that it allows adjustment. Shapes stretch, paths bend, nothing shatters. You are invited to rest with this sense of patience. The universe prefers gradual change. The Milky Way's companions have been nearby for a very long time. Their presence is not new. Their motion has been unfolding quietly since long before this moment. Stability is maintained through familiarity. As these galaxies move, they exchange subtle influences. Gravity shapes their trajectories. Gas may drift. Light continues its calm travel. Everything remains unhurried. You may sense how this mirrors peaceful coexistence, togetherness without intrusion. The space between galaxies is vast, yet it does not feel empty. It feels open, roomy, supportive of slow motion. Nothing presses close. Nothing feels isolated. Some neighboring galaxies follow looping paths around the Milky Way, taking enormous amounts of time to complete a single circuit. Their movement is steady, predictable, and calm. These motions do not disturb the galaxy's internal balance. Stars continue their orbits. Clouds continue to gather and disperse. Life inside the galaxy proceeds without interruption. Interaction here does not mean disruption. It means gentle influence across time. As your breathing remains soft, the idea of cosmic neighborhoods may feel comforting. Belonging does not require closeness. Awareness is enough. The Milky Way and its companions are part of a small group, bound loosely together. This grouping is not tight. It allows freedom of movement while maintaining connection. Nothing is forced to stay. Nothing is pushed away. Over time, Some galaxies may drift nearer, others may slowly move farther. These changes unfold across spans of time that dissolve urgency completely. You are not asked to imagine specific paths. The feeling of calm motion is sufficient. Light travels between these galaxies quietly, crossing the space between them without resistance. Messages of ancient events pass gently from one to another, unnoticed by most. Even here, silence dominates. As your awareness softens, you may notice how reassuring it is that even large structures interact without violence. Scale brings patience. Galaxies influence one another's shapes subtly. Tidal forces stretch stars gently, elongating structures without tearing them apart. Everything adjusts gradually. This adjustment feels more like stretching after rest than strain. The Milky Way has felt these influences before and remains stable. Its spiral shape persists. Its motion continues. Nothing about its identity is lost through companionship. Instead, connection adds context. Some neighboring galaxies are so faint they barely register unless attention is focused carefully. Yet their presence matters. Support does not need to be obvious. These quiet companions remind the galaxy that it is part of something larger without overwhelming it. As you rest with this idea, your own sense of place may soften. Being part of a wider system does not diminish individuality. It enriches it. The universe seems to favor loose associations rather than tight clusters at this scale. Space remains generous. Nothing crowds your awareness. Even when galaxies eventually come closer over deep time, the process remains gentle. Stars rarely meet. Distances remain immense. Light continues calmly. You are free to let go of any expectation of drama. The Milky Way's neighbors drift alongside it, sharing long stretches of time without interruption. Their presence is steady, not demanding. As your thoughts slow, you may feel how this companionship feels restful rather than stimulating. Nothing asks for attention. The universe does not need constant interaction to remain meaningful. Presence alone is enough. These galaxies continue their quiet journeys, sometimes approaching, sometimes receding, always within the broad framework of calm gravity. Nothing here is hurried. Nothing is loud. The space between galaxies remains dark and peaceful, allowing movement without friction. Silence feels natural here. As your breathing remains even, the idea of vast companionship may feel grounding. You are not alone, yet nothing presses in. The Milky Way continues on its path, accompanied by its quiet neighbors, all moving together through the larger universe. This movement has no destination that needs to be reached quickly. It unfolds as it unfolds. As this chapter gently draws toward its close, the sense of calm community remains. Galaxies keep company without urgency, sharing space without demand. Your awareness may drift now toward an even wider view, where these small groups themselves become part of something far larger and quieter still. And as the Milky Way continues drifting alongside its quiet companions, your thoughts begin to soften toward the gentle way vast clusters of galaxies gather far beyond this calm neighborhood. You now settle into a sense of movement that does not seek arrival. Nothing here is trying to get somewhere. The galaxy moves because motion is natural, not because there is an endpoint waiting. Everything flows, rotates, and adjusts simply because balance allows it. There is relief in this idea. The Milky Way turns slowly, not as part of a journey, but as a state of being. Rotation is not progress toward a goal. It is a quiet continuation, like breathing that does not aim to finish. As you rest with this thought, motion begins to feel softer. It does not feel like effort. It feels like rhythm. Stars travel along long paths around the galactic center, but they are not on a schedule. Their movement is steady and unhurried, guided by gravity and balance rather than intention. Nothing urges them forward. Each orbit takes immense spans of time, yet time itself feels less important here. Motion unfolds whether or not it is measured. You may notice how comforting this is. Movement without pressure allows everything to remain calm. The galaxy does not rush toward a future state. It does not seek completion. It simply continues, moment by moment, age by age, adjusting gently as conditions change. Gas clouds drift, gathering and dispersing slowly. Dust settles, lifts and resettles. These motions do not aim toward final forms. They explore possibilities without urgency. As your breathing remains slow, the idea of direction loosens. Forward and backward lose meaning. Only flow remains. Even the galaxy's slow changes in shape occur without intention. Spiral arms shift gradually. Stars drift slightly inward or outward. None of this is planned. It simply happens. Motion here is not driven by desire. It is driven by balance. You are not asked to track where anything is going. The comfort lies in knowing that arrival is unnecessary. Light moves as well, traveling immense distances without destination. It does not know where it will end. It does not care. It moves because motion is allowed. This kind of movement feels deeply restful. Nothing strains toward outcomes. As your awareness drifts, you may sense how this mirrors deep rest in your own body. Rest is not about reaching sleep. It is about allowing motion to slow naturally. The galaxy allows motion to exist without expectation. Nothing needs to resolve tonight. Nothing needs to complete a cycle quickly. Stars continue shining, not to achieve something, but because energy flows steadily within them. Even their light is a form of motion without destination. This steadiness removes pressure from the present moment. As the galaxy moves, it responds gently to influences around it. Nearby galaxies tug softly. Dark matter shapes paths quietly. Everything adjusts without conflict. Motion remains smooth because change is slow. You may imagine this motion like a slow current beneath still water. From the surface, everything appears calm. Beneath, movement continues quietly. This quiet movement does not disturb rest. It supports it. The Milky Way does not seek to expand endlessly, nor does it seek to collapse. It remains in balance, allowing motion to exist comfortably within boundaries. These boundaries are not rigid. They are flexible, responsive, forgiving. As your thoughts soften, the idea of purpose begins to fade. Motion does not need purpose to be meaningful. The galaxy has been moving like this for billions of years. It has never arrived anywhere, yet it has never been lost. This realization can feel deeply reassuring. You do not need to be heading towards something to be where you belong. Even interactions between galaxies unfold this way. They drift, approach, pass and adjust without destination. Nothing rushes to meet. Nothing fears separation. Motion becomes a shared language of patience. As your breathing remains natural, you may feel permission to let go of plans, even briefly. Motion does not require planning here. The galaxy does not measure progress. It does not mark milestones. It does not count rotations as achievements. It simply continues. Stars born long ago continue their slow paths. Stars formed more recently join the same flow. Age does not change the nature of motion. Everything participates equally. Gas clouds respond to subtle changes in pressure and gravity, drifting without urgency. Even when conditions allow stars to form, the process unfolds slowly. Nothing leaps ahead. The absence of destination removes fear of being behind. As you rest with this idea, the present moment becomes sufficient. There is nowhere else to be. The galaxy's motion does not compete with rest. It complements it. Motion here feels like gentle rocking, steady and predictable, offering reassurance rather than stimulation. You may notice how the idea of endless motion without destination dissolves urgency in your own thoughts. Nothing must be accomplished before rest arrives. The universe does not rush. It does not expect you to rush either. The Milky Way continues turning quietly, not because it must, but because balance allows it. This allowance feels generous. As time stretches, motion feels less like change and more like continuity. Nothing breaks the flow. Nothing demands attention. Even disturbances unfold slowly. When galaxies influence one another, their motion adjusts over vast timescales. There is time to respond, time to adapt. This patience keeps everything calm. As your awareness drifts further, motion becomes background rather than focus, something you feel rather than analyze. The galaxy moves, but it does not distract. You are free to let your attention soften now. Nothing in this motion needs monitoring. The idea of destination fades completely. Motion exists for its own sake. The Milky Way has never arrived anywhere, yet it remains complete in every moment. This completeness feels restful. As your body relaxes, you may sense how reassuring it is to exist without needing to move towards something else. The universe does not demand progress to justify existence. Motion without destination allows space for rest. Stars continue their quiet journeys. Light continues its patient travel. Gravity continues its steady holding. Everything moves, yet nothing is hurried. As this chapter gently nears its close, the sense of calm flow remains. Motion becomes a soft presence rather than a concept. You are carried by this flow without needing to steer. And as motion continues without destination, your awareness begins to soften further, drifting toward a place where even movement fades into quiet rest. And while the galaxy continues its endless, unhurried motion, but your thoughts begin to settle into the stillness that naturally follows when nothing needs to arrive. You arrive now at a place where understanding gently loosens its grip. The Milky Way no longer asks to be examined or explained. It becomes a quiet presence around you, vast and steady, like a night sky that no longer needs naming. Learning softens into comfort, and comfort begins to feel like rest. You are already inside this galaxy. You have always been. There is no need to imagine traveling outward or inward. Nothing changes location. Only attention settles. The stars you have encountered throughout this journey continue their slow motion without pause. They shine steadily, orbit patiently, and drift through time without concern. None of this requires your awareness. It happens whether you follow it or not. As your breathing remains natural, the idea of the galaxy shifts from something external to something gently surrounding. Not enclosing, not pressing, simply present. Like being inside a calm landscape that remains even when eyes close. The Milky Way holds billions of stars, yet it does not feel crowded. Space remains open and breathable. Distances soften intensity. Nothing feels close enough to demand reaction. This spaciousness allows the mind to rest. The galaxy does not speak. It does not instruct. It does not offer conclusions. It simply exists, steady and untroubled, carrying light, matter, and time without effort. You may sense how this steadiness invites your own thoughts to slow. There is nothing left to follow, nothing left to track. Stars continue forming quietly in distant regions. Others age gently, are changing so slowly that it feels like stillness. Some have already settled into quieter states, contributing calmly to the galaxy's long balance. All of this unfolds without interruption. The spiral arms continue their gradual turning. Their shape remains graceful, not because it is maintained, but because balance allows it. No one adjusts it, no one monitors it. This lack of supervision feels reassuring. Gravity continues holding everything together softly. Dark matter continues offering unseen support. Light continues its patient travel. Motion continues without destination. Nothing requires attention. As your awareness drifts, the Milky Way becomes less an object of thought and more a backdrop of calm existence. Something that holds space rather than filling it. You are free to let go of details now. Names and structures can fade, and the feeling remains. The galaxy has existed for a very long time, and it will continue for a very long time. This continuity does not feel heavy. It feels dependable. You do not need to witness it. The idea of deep time now feels like a gentle cushion rather than a concept. Time stretches wide enough that individual moments lose urgency. This moment does not need to lead anywhere. Stars shine whether they are noticed or not. They do not wait for observation. Their light moves outward calmly, indifferent to arrival. This indifference is peaceful. As you rest with this, your own presence may feel lighter. There is no requirement to engage. You are allowed to simply be. The Milky Way does not ask questions. It does not expect understanding. It does not reward effort. It offers space. This space feels safe. The galaxy's quiet companions continue drifting nearby, sharing the same broad calm. Farther still, countless other galaxies move through their own long rhythms, all part of a universe that does not hurry. You do not need to imagine them clearly. Their presence can remain abstract, soft, distant. What matters is the sense that nothing presses close. As your breathing deepens slightly, your body may recognize this environment as one where rest is natural. Nothing here stimulates urgency. Nothing triggers alertness. The universe at this scale is not loud. Even events that seem energetic from closer perspectives dissolve into gentleness here. Scale turns intensity into calm. You may notice how your thoughts begin to thin, like clouds spreading out and fading. There is no need to hold on to them. The Milky Way continues to turn quietly around its center, not because it must, but because motion remains balanced. This turning does not disturb rest. It supports it. You are not expected to stay awake for this. As your attention softens further, the galaxy becomes less something you are listening to and more something you are resting within. Like ambient light that does not demand focus, nothing needs to be remembered. The stars do not count time. They do not measure their age. They simply exist within the flow of energy and gravity. This simplicity feels deeply calming. Your own thoughts may begin to slow into fewer words, fewer images. That is welcome here. The Milky Way does not require clarity. does not require comprehension, it offers quiet. As the journey widens one last time, the galaxy feels less like a subject and more like a place, a vast, steady environment where rest is allowed. You are not separate from it. The idea of inside and outside becomes less important. You are part of the same calm system, held by the same gentle structure. Nothing asks you to remain alert. Stars continue shining softly. Light continues drifting patiently. Gravity continues holding without strain. Everything continues without your involvement. As your body settles, you may feel how easy it is to let go when nothing is expected. The universe does not keep score. The Milky Way remains a quiet home, not because it shelters deliberately, but because balance allows peace. This peace does not need to be earned. Your breathing remains natural. Shoulders soften. Jaw releases. There is nothing you need to do. Sleep is welcome here. Learning has already done what it needed to do. It has widened perspective, softened urgency, and now it can fade gently. Comfort remains. The galaxy does not change as you rest. It continues calmly, unaffected by awareness or absence. This reliability allows rest to deepen. As your thoughts drift, they may begin to lose shape altogether. Images soften. Words dissolve. That is natural. The Milky Way does not require your attention to exist. It holds its calm whether you are awake or asleep. You are free to rest inside it. The universe does not mind. As this final chapter settles, the sense of being held without effort becomes familiar. There is no edge here, no demand, only quiet continuation. You may allow sleep to arrive whenever it chooses. Nothing will be missed. The galaxy will still be here. And as the Milky Way continues its quiet existence around you, your thoughts gently fade, resting inside a universe that asks nothing more of you tonight. Now there is nothing left to remember and nothing you need to carry forward. The details can loosen and fade, like shapes slipping back into the dark. Let your breathing slow without effort. Let the quiet do its work. If these calm journeys bring you comfort, you're welcome to return again, whenever the world feels loud and rest feels far away. For now, allow your body to sink a little deeper, your thoughts to drift a little wider, and the night to hold you exactly as you are. You can simply rest and let sleep arrive in its own time.